Chapters 1 through 4 of the Gospel according to Matthew, from the New Testament in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. Chapter 1. The record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judah and his brothers. And Judah begat Pharez and Zara by Tamar. And Pharez begat Hezrom, and Hezrom begat Aram. And Aram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Naasson. And Naasson begat Salmon. And Salmon begat Boaz by Rahab. And Boaz begat Obed by Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king. David the king begat Solomon by the widow of Uriah. And Solomon begat Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abiah. And Abiah begat Asaph, and Asaph begat Joshaphat. And Joshaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Uzziah, and Uzziah begat Jotham, and Jotham begat Achaz, and Achaz begat Hezekiah, and Hezekiah begat Manasseh, and Manasseh begat Amos, and Amos begat Josiah, and Josiah begat Jeconiah and his brothers about the time of the transportation into Babylon. And after the transportation into Babylon, Jeconiah begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel begat Abiud, and Abiud begat Eliakim, and Eliakim begat Azor, and Azor begat Sadoc, and Sadoc begat Achim, and Achim begat Eliud, and Eliud begat Eleazar, and Eleazar begat Mathan, and Mathan begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary. From her was born Jesus, the appointed Messiah. Thus all the generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations. And from David to the transportation unto Babylon were 14 generations. And from the transportation into Babylon to the Messiah were 14 generations. However, the origin of Jesus the Messiah was thus. Mary, his mother, was promised in marriage to Joseph, but before their union she was found to have conceived from the Holy Spirit. Her husband Joseph, however, was a righteous man, and not wishing to degrade her, felt inclined to divorce her privately. But while reflecting about it, he saw a messenger from the Lord appear to him during a vision, saying, "Joseph, son of David, you need not be afraid to accept your wife Mary, for what is conceived in her was produced by the Holy Spirit. And she will give birth to a son, and you shall name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." Now all this took place so that the statement of the Lord, as recorded by his prophet, might be fulfilled. "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and give birth to a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which, when translated, means the God among us. Then Joseph, having awakened from his sleep, did as the messenger of the Lord commanded him, and accepted his wife, but kept apart from her until she had given birth to her son, and he named him Jesus. Chapter 2. Soon after the birth of Jesus, in Bethlehem of Judea, during the reign of King Herod, there arrived in Jerusalem Magi from the east, who inquired, "Where is the newly born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and we have come to pay him homage." When Herod the king heard this, he was terrified, and all Jerusalem with him. So assembling the chief priests and professors, he demanded of them where the Messiah would be born. They replied, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For it is recorded by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, Judah's land, are not the least among the districts of Judah, for out of you shall come the leader, who shall shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod, having privately interviewed the Magi, ascertained from them the exact time when the star made its appearance. He then sent them to Bethlehem, remarking, "When you arrive, ascertain very carefully everything about that child, And when you have discovered all, inform me, so that I may also come and pay him homage." Having listened to the king, they accordingly proceeded on their way, and observed that the star which they had seen at its rising went before them, until arriving, it rested above the place where the child was. When they observed the star, they rejoiced with very great delight. And having come to the house, they saw the young child with his mother Mary, and prostrating themselves, they paid him homage. And having opened their treasures, they presented him with gold, frankincense, and myrrh as a tribute. And having been instructed by a dream not to return to Herod, they accordingly departed to their own country by another road. After their departure, a messenger from the Lord also appeared to Joseph in a vision, saying, "Arise, take the child and his mother, and fly to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to hunt out the child to murder him." Arising, he accordingly took the child and his mother by night, and removed to Egypt, remaining there until the death of Herod, so that the statement from the Lord through the prophet might be fulfilled, which declared, "I called my son out of Egypt." Then Herod, when he found that he had been deceived by the Magi, was savagely furious, and sending to Bethlehem, he murdered all the male children there, as well as all that were in the neighborhood, from 2 years of age and under, so as to include the date which he had ascertained from the Magi. Then was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. "I heard a sound of grief in Ramah, weeping and great anguish, Rachel weeping for her children, and she cannot be consoled, because they are not." When Herod was dead, however, a messenger of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a vision while in Egypt, and said, "Arise, take the child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead who sought the child's life." He then arose, took the child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. Hearing, however, that Archelaus reigned over Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to return there. And having been also warned by a dream, he withdrew into the district of Galilee. And on arriving, he settled in a town called Nazareth, so that the prediction through the prophet was fulfilled which said that he should be considered a Nazarene. Chapter 3. Some time after this period, John the Baptizer began to proclaim in the desert of Judea, "Reform, for the kingdom of heaven is near." This man was the one foretold by the prophet Isaiah, where he says, "A voice calling out in the desert, prepare the road for the Lord, make straight the pathway for his feet." Now John himself had his clothing of camel's hair, with a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locusts and wild honey. Then Jerusalem and the people about Judea, as well as the whole neighborhood of Jordan, went to him, and were baptized by him in the Jordan, when they had confessed their sins. But observing many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his baptism, he addressed them, saying, "Spawn of vipers! Who has directed you to fly from the future fury? Produce then fruit displaying your conversion, and do not in your pride say to yourselves, 'We have our ancestor Abraham.' For I tell you that God is able even from these stones to raise up children to Abraham. But the axe now lies at the root of the trees. Every tree, therefore, which does not produce good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. I indeed baptize you in water, preparatory to conversion. But the one who follows me is far stronger than I. I am not even worthy to carry his shoes. He will baptize you in the Holy Spirit and fire. His winnower is in his hand, and he will perfectly cleanse his threshing floor, and collect his wheat into the granary, while he will consume the chaff with inextinguishable fire." Jesus also came from Galilee to the Jordan, applying to John to be baptized by him. John, however, wished to dissuade him, saying, "It is more necessary for me to be baptized by you, and yet you would come to me?" But Jesus replied, "Allow it for the present, for it is appointed thus to us to do all that is right." He then permitted him. And when Jesus had been baptized, he immediately came out from the water, and the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, and coming and resting upon him. And then a voice from the heavens said, "This is my Son, my beloved, in whom I have delight. Chapter 4. Jesus then went up into the desert under the influence of the Spirit, to be tried by the agency of the devil. And having fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he at last became hungry. The tempter then approached him and said, "If you are a son of God, order these stones to become loaves." But Jesus in reply said, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone, but upon every word passing through the mouth of God." Then the devil, carrying him into the holy city, placed him upon the high porch of the temple, and said to him, "If you are a son of God, throw yourself down, for it is recorded that he will command his angels concerning you, to support you with their hands, so that you cannot dash your foot against the pavement." Jesus in reply to him said, "And it is elsewhere written, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." Again the devil, carrying him up a very high mountain, pointed out to him all the kingdoms of that region, and the splendor of them, and said to him, "I will give you all these, if you will pay me homage." But Jesus in reply to him said, "Begone, Satan! For it is written, you shall reverence the Lord and pay homage to him alone." The devil then left him, and angels at once approached and ministered to him. Now Jesus, having heard that John was betrayed, moved into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth he went to live in Capernaum by the sea, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that the prediction delivered through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled, which says, "Over the Jordan, near the sea, in the land of Zebulun and Naphtali's land, in the heathen Galilee, the people living in darkness saw a great light, while in solitude crouched and the shadow of death, a light has before them burst out." From that time Jesus began to proclaim and say, "Change your minds, for the kingdom of heaven approaches." While walking along the coast of the Sea of Galilee, he observed 2 brothers, Simon surnamed Peter, and his brother Andrew, throwing a casting net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Speaking to them, he said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And immediately abandoning their nets, they followed him. And going from there he saw 2 other brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in the boat along with their father, mending their nets. And he hailed them. And at once abandoning the boat and their father, they followed him. Jesus then went through all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, as well as curing every kind of disease and infirmity among the people. And the report about him spread throughout all Syria, and they brought to him all those who were afflicted with different mental diseases and sufferings, demoniacs, lunatics, and paralytics, and he restored them to health. And great crowds followed him from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, and Judea, as well as from the other side of the Jordan. The end of chapters 1 through 4. Recording by Mark Penfold.